Hello, everybody. Hi, Sophie here for my regular Monday night Facebook Live. I'm a little bit later than I usually am, so I apologize for that. There was some technical situation. But anyway, here I am, and I'm really excited because tonight we are going to be discussing, we're going to be discussing a topic which was born out of a question. So I had a really great question. And for those of you who don't know, I answer your questions every single Tuesday at 2 p.m. in my Facebook group, Healthy Living and Weight Loss for Women Over 40. If you're not in that Facebook group, get into that Facebook group. So I take a bunch of your questions. I open my mailbag and I answer your questions. But this was one question, and I thought, this is one question that I've had so many times that I'm literally, this is going to be the topic tonight of this live stream. And the question was by a lovely lady called Rebecca, and she wanted to know what the best diet is to do, the best weight loss diet, because she's looking at all the different diets, you know, the trending top diets of 2020 and 2021, and she's totally confused. So what I thought I would do is go over the hottest diet trends for 2021, and I would just go over each of them and speak to each of them. And I thought this would be super useful for all of you. So whether you're on my Facebook or whether you're on my YouTube or whether you've been following me for a while or whether you're new to me, welcome if you are. This is just a topic that I love to roll up my sleeves and get into. As a board certified nutritionist, it's something that I do. I spend my life doing is looking at all these different approaches, and it's something that's very close to my heart as well, because I help a lot of women, those of you who know, who have worked with me on a very deeply personal level, to release your unwanted pounds, and more importantly, to get healthy and get your body into the best possible state it can be to prevent disease as time goes on. And so this is something that I put an enormous amount of focus. It's my life's mission, actually, if you like, to sort of set the record straight on this and really look into what really the best options are for most people. Hi, Denise. Hi, Mary, Barbara, Jill, Anne, Helene, Stephanie with a beautiful purple heart. It's lovely to see all my beautiful regulars here. Okay, so Maureen, I hardly eat at all, but I don't lose any weight as my body's storing my food as fat. No, I don't think so. Maureen. And so Maureen had a question about, you know, she hardly eats at all and she doesn't lose any weight. And, you know, one of the things that you might want to think about, Maureen, here is maybe you're not eating enough. So one of the things that I work with my clients is that I have them really focus on eating the foods that their body loves and eating as much of that food, and there are very specific foods, as they want until satiety. So if you want to know a little bit more about my process and how I help many women to release unwanted pounds and reach their ideal weight, this is for everybody who's watching. Do check out my masterclass. Some of you have already, because I know you've been sort of following me for a while, but check it out. So it's in the description of the video, or, you know, Catherine will pop the link in there. But watch that, because that really covers my process for really my philosophy. It's actually the shifts, the 5 rather surprising shifts that I give to my clients to get them these results. And one of those things, Maureen, to speak to your question, is we don't calorie count. We don't even sort of reduce portion size. So this is very, very important. Hi, Melanie, and hi, Serene. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to dive in, and I'm going to go through the hottest diet trends that I'm forecasting for 2021. Not that different, to be honest, from what we've seen in 2020, but I've really nailed them down. I'm going to go through each of them. I'm going to speak to each of them. I'm going to speak from the evidence-based science to each of them, because those of you who follow me, thank you very much. There's a link for my masterclass. Pop in and go watch that. We'll watch it when we're done here, but maybe just pop in and save it on a tab so you can watch it later this evening or tomorrow. But when I go through these diets, I'm going to be speaking to each diet and bringing the evidence-based science to it, because that's really, as most of you know, what I follow. There are many, many different opinions out there on the internet, all the different experts saying something different. So I really try to stick to the science, because we've all got an opinion, and that's fine. But the science is undeniable, the evidence-based science. And when I say that I speak to the science, I don't just speak to, just a couple of studies. Really, when I follow the science, we look at a meta-analysis of all available data to date to really bring, credible science to the table. All right, so yeah, and Rob's right, Maureen, blood sugar, thyroid also. So, and look, to your point, Rob, when I work with my clients, and you see this when you watch my masterclass, because one of the shifts that's very important that I talk about is we treat the whole person. So in terms of releasing unwanted pounds, it's not a rapid weight loss diet. That doesn't work. We all know that. We might have tried it. Many of us have. And it doesn't work, or I should say it doesn't work long term. You might have done a rapid weight loss diet, lost a ton of weight, and it's only a matter of time before it comes back on again. So we have to look at you as a whole person. And that means that we have to look at your hormones. We have to look at your thyroid. We have to look at your exercise level, how much you're exercising. Obviously, we have to look at exactly what you're eating. And most importantly, we have to look at your mindset, because mindset, your beliefs, your thoughts, your beliefs, carry, no pun intended, a huge amount of weight. And certainly my clients, and if there's anybody on who has worked with me, any of my lovely clients, you'll know that that's the sort of really the biggest part of what we tackle. But anyway, again, if you want to find out more about my philosophy and how I really do treat the whole person, it's not just diet and what you eat, please look at my masterclass, and the link is in the comments, or it'll be in the description to this video. So let's dive in right now, and let's look at some of these trends. Now, I want to be clear. These hottest diet trends that I'm forecasting for 2021 are weight loss diet. They're for people who will be searching for, a rapid weight loss diet, or people who want to lose weight. Because the thing is, there's a diet and a diet. So a diet basically means what we eat, what you eat on a daily basis. And obviously that's extremely important, and it's one of the first things that I address with my clients when I coach them. However, a rapid weight loss diet, or a weight loss diet, is something different, because that's when the entire focus is just on that and that alone. And that's really what these particular diets that weight loss diets that I'm forecasting for 2021 are all about. Oh, I'm sorry about that, Pam. Oh, well, you're here now, so hopefully you can watch and you can see it. So for any, please do share this video before I jump in with anyone who you think might be interested, who's been struggling with either pre-diabetes, diabetes, high blood sugars. They just have not been able to shift weight. Maybe that, and also maybe they're just like, oh, I'm just so confused. That's the rallying cry I hear from almost everybody. Sophie, everybody's saying something different, and I just don't know what to do. I don't know what to trust. I don't know what the best thing is for me. So if you know, if that's you, if that's your, mother, daughter, best friend, whatever, just share and say, hey, watch this live. Sophie is about to go over all of these different diets. And I think that you're going to be hearing a lot about. And I think it's going to be really valuable information, not just for you, but also for your friends and loved ones too. So we can really get to the bottom, as I say, of the sort of science. And hopefully it can really help you to make a better decision for yourself and those you love. Okay, so let's get on with this right now. So diet number one. Okay, so trend forecast number one for weight loss diet for 2021 is one that has been almost top of the trend list probably for the last certainly 4 or 5 years now, which is keto. So we're still going to see a lot more keto. That's still going to be right up there trending. The ketogenic diet, sometimes known as the caveman's diet, there's sort of variations on the theme, or the paleo diet. They're all slightly different, but we're going to go with keto because keto is such a buzzword right now. So the keto diet was really developed many years ago, and it was developed really for children who were having epileptic seizures, actually, and was found to be an effective treatment for these such conditions. Now, keto. I could do an entire live stream about the ketogenic diet, and I don't want to get too hung up on it. But suffice to say that if you want to prevent disease, if you want to first off, let's say if you want a weight loss diet, so you're going to release unwanted pounds, and something that you can stay on long term, i.e. for the rest of your life, which is a lifestyle, it is a way of eating, then keto will probably not fit that bill, because keto is not sustainable. Ketogenic diet generally is characterized by eating a diet that's very high in fat and very low in carbs including things like fruit and beans. First off, number one, it generally isn't sustainable. The second thing, which I have to just say, because being a board certified nutritionist, I can't not say this. There is no point going on a diet of any kind if it is not going to speak to preventing disease, because it's not about fitting into a skinny casket. It is about primarily taking care of your health. And so as far as the ketogenic diet is concerned, and paleo, which by the way are all a kind of iteration of back in the day of the Atkins diet, which was way, way back, these sort of high fat diets, they're high in saturated fat. And so a diet that is high in saturated fat is not only going to put you at greater risk for heart disease, cardiovascular disease, various kinds of cancers, raise your cholesterol, and also sort of not do you any favors long term in reducing your blood sugar and diabetes, even though sometimes keto is used for that. The problem with that even is that, you see, keto will initially help with the symptom of high blood sugar, but it doesn't deal with the cause. And so even for something like diabetes, I think the science tells us that it's not really the solution. It's not the long-term solution. Now, if we're just talking about rapid weight loss, well, if you're on the ketogenic diet, and honestly, really, if you're on any very rapid weight loss diet, most of the rapid weight loss diets will have you avoid the usual suspects, like cut processed foods, cut sugar, cut those foods. Very often, whatever the diet is that you try, you will experience some initial weight loss. Most people do when they're on a diet. Now, another issue that I've seen over and over again, hi Kelly, with keto, is that the one thing that you are not going to develop is lean muscle mass. In fact, you're going to lose lean muscle mass. This is what the long-term science tells us, where populations and randomized trials and studies on people who have done keto and managed to stick on it for a certain length of time. have found that it is that actually the opposite happens, and that you lose lean muscle mass, which is a little bit scary, particularly for those of us who are a little bit older. I'm in my 50s, I'm 56. Most of the women that I coach and speak to are women in their 50s. And it's a very real issue, sarcopenia, the loss of lean muscle mass. And so this is another reason why, keto isn't your best friend, because when we think about a weight loss diet, yes, we might want to release unwanted pounds, but also surely we want to gain lean muscle mass and get in the best shape of our life and have beautiful, strong, lean muscles, right? So anyway, but yes, it continues to be a trend. Yes, it will. I forecast that keto and variations of keto, there's vegan keto, there's all kinds of different kinds of keto, again, characterized by eating, a diet that is pretty high in fat, that will continue to be a trend. So watch out for that. But, and you can dig in a little bit more in my community and my YouTube videos, and certainly, go watch my masterclass just to see, if you want to find out a little bit more about that and the science. And if you want so a little bit more in-depth science, then make sure you, as far as the ketogenic diet is concerned, then make sure you go to my join, if you're not already, my Facebook group, which is Healthy Living and Weight Loss for Women Over 40, and ask questions, because I open my mail bag every single Tuesday at 2 p.m. and I will get to as many questions as you can. So you might have specific questions about anything that I'm going over today. All right, so next diet trend that I see, that I forecast in 2021, is vegan, right? So veganism is really growing, and I'm seeing it, left, right, and center. So are you. We go to the market now. We go to the local grocery store. There's now entire vegan sections when there weren't 2 years ago. I travel, I go to England, and there's entire aisles which are vegan. There's a lot of veganism in the UK right now, and it's interesting that the primary reason, a big study was just done for people being vegan in the UK, was ethical and sustainable reasons. And the primary reasons for people being vegan in the US was for health reasons. Interesting, right? Just a little side note there. Anyways, vegan. So good, bad, what does the science tell us? Well, as far as vegan is concerned, the science tells us that vegan isn't necessarily healthy. A vegan diet can be a diet that can be full of processed foods. So you can have, Hostess bars, Twinkie bars, all kinds of different candies, super refined and processed foods on a vegan diet, okay? It's interesting because being in Los Angeles, there's a very, very big kind of vegan scene here, and there's endless vegan food festivals, which are so much fun. And I do go to a lot of them because I love them. But you wouldn't believe what people are eating there. These vegan ice cream sandwiches and vegan donuts and vegan quadruple, burgers and whatnot, with all the new kind of vegan meats and whatnot. Not necessarily healthy, but it's a trend. It's a really hot trend, and it will continue to be. It's growing and growing and growing. A lot of the big, huge meat companies now are now doing a plant meat or a plant burger or a plant-based whatever. McDonald's is doing a veggie burger. KFC has vegan nuggets. I mean, they're all on it now because it is a trend that is just going to explode. It's just started. We're at the crest of the wave now, and I'm quite good at forecasting when it comes to trends in the wellness space. But what I'm trying to do here is weigh in on each of these trends as I go through them. So number one, we have keto, and without spending 2 hours on it, I would say the evidence-based science tells us that in terms of sustained weight loss, long-term permanent weight loss and health, that would be a kind of thumbs down. In terms of vegan, for long-term weight loss and health, I'm also going to give it a thumbs down. You might be surprised. Many of you who follow me, you're like, but Sophie, you're all about whole food plant-based. Yes, I'm about whole food plant-based, but whole food plant-based is very different to vegan. And honestly, I speak to a lot of women, every week, and some of them go, I've been vegan for 10 years and I can't lose this weight, and my blood sugars are bad, and blah, blah, blah. And then we dig into what they're eating, and it's not a healthy diet. All right. So I'm all for, ethically 100%. It's better for the environment. It's obviously better for animals. And that's one of the reasons why I personally do not eat animal products anymore. It's one of the biggest reasons, health as well. But you've got to be really careful. And so don't think just because something says it's vegan, like, oh, it's vegan ice cream or a vegan cookie or a vegan whatever, and a vegan fake meat. Those fake meats, those burgers that we see everywhere, they tend to be very high in fat and very high in sodium. Go figure. Not great for the waistline or the heart. All right, so let's go into the next new diet trend. This is an interesting one because I didn't know whether to put this one in here, but I did because like keto and vegan, it's been sort of steadily hobbling along as a trend for the last few years, but I think it's just going to continue to expand and therefore explode into 2021. And that's flexitarian. Right? So flexitarian is, there's a lot of different definitions of flexitarian, but flexitarian generally means that I'm a little bit more plant forward, putting a lot more fruits and veggies into your diet, but maybe still having a little bit of meat and a little bit of fish and oils and things like that. It's kind of like flexitarian is a little bit more like kind of the Mediterranean diet. Okay. Yes, and whoever said, yes, vegan meat is a treat. Yes, a treat every now and again, absolutely, or as a training wheel. Sometimes those vegan meats can be, a training wheel for people. If your family's trying to go vegan and you've got whole food plant-based, I should say, and you've got kids and teenagers and whatnot, they can be a great training wheel food where people can enjoy those foods, family members, and go, oh my gosh, this isn't so bad. And honestly, if it's the difference between, and I should have said this, and I'm really glad you left that comment, if it's the difference between a fake plant-based meat or a vegan meat and a burger, a real burger, I would choose the fake vegan meat every time, even though it can be as high in saturated fat and sodium, right? Even though, and the reason is because we want to decrease inflammation in your body. And one of the reasons why I have my clients who I coach, and I obviously take their health incredibly seriously, one of the things that we have to do is we want to minimize and reduce inflammation characterized by something, a marker in your blood called IGF-1. We want to diminish and minimize IGF-1, the inflammation markers. A lot of women come to me, they have aches and pains and arthritis and goodness knows what else. So if you were choosing between the two, and I'm really glad you asked me that question. It just says Facebook user, I'm sorry, I can't see what your name is, but it was a very, very good question. So there you go. So flexitarian. So flexitarian is not bad. So it's a trend. It's going to continue to explode. A lot of people say, oh, I'm flexitarian. It's way, way better than being having the standard American diet, the SAD diet, which is characterized by lots of processed foods and very heavy in animal products and processed foods. So flexitarian is definitely a wonderful step in the right direction. And I would congratulate anyone who says, I'm now leaning towards a flexitarian diet or Mediterranean diet. So fantastic. And the science is in for both the Mediterranean diet and, it's difficult to get the science on a flexitarian diet because there's so many definitions, but certainly as far as the Mediterranean diet, which I think is a good sort of descriptor of a flexitarian diet, in that is lots of fruits and vegetables and still a little bit of meat and fish and whatnot. So and the science is great for that. But here's my one little caveat: is it enough? If you want to lose unwanted pounds, if you want to significantly release unwanted pounds and get super duper healthy, I will tell you that the science, both science and my personal opinion as a board certified nutritionist who's helped countless women to lose unwanted pounds, a flexitarian or Mediterranean diet doesn't go far enough. All right, so just putting that out there. Does flexitarian include fruitarian and pescatarian? If not, your thoughts on those diets? Great question, Jill. Okay, fruitarian, I'm going to kind of get to in a minute, actually. That's the next trend I'm getting to. Pescatarian would be generally, Jill, would be excluding all animal products except for fish. And that's not necessarily, I haven't got that on my list of hottest diet trends because I don't think it's a big enough trend. A lot of people are. So that's what it is. Is it healthy? Definitely healthier than eating what the science tells us, than eating animal products in terms of meats, beef, poultry, and dairy products and whatnot. Does it go far enough for your health? Is fish a health food? Well, again, fish can be extremely contaminated with the industrial contaminants, the dioxins, the PCBs, the fire retardants, and of the heavy metals like mercury and whatnot. And so, in my opinion, I want to be really clear about this, there can be a place for fish in some people's diets, but it's not a health food. Moreover, now, because we are talking about weight loss diets, also fish, the fish that a lot of people really enjoy in their diet, things like salmon, can be very, very high in fat as well. So again, does it have a place in a weight loss diet if you want to release unwanted pounds? From my opinion, probably not. All right, so the next diet trend, the next hot diet trend, which again, we've heard a lot about it, but I think it's going more mainstream now, is raw food. Now, Jill, I'm going to sort of put a fruitarian into that, because fruitarian is very, very niche. It's not really a big diet trend. There are very, very few fruitarians, but I'll kind of slot that in under this umbrella. So raw food continues to grow as a trend. A lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I feel amazing on a raw food diet. It's just incredible. I've lost a lot of weight. My skin's got better, da, 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 da. So yeah, it's a hot diet trend, and it's going to continue to be so. We see a lot of it on Instagram. Now, what I do want to say is, is wild caught fish unhealthy? Oh, that's a great question. This is Virginia. Is wild caught fish healthy? Here's the thing, Virginia. It's like we think of things like wild caught, and it's the same with meat. There's all these labels that we think are healthier. But unfortunately, wild caught fish, whether it's from our streams, our lakes, or our oceans, they're still contaminated. They're what used to be, beautiful, clean lakes, streams, and oceans are not anymore. And so they're really, in many cases, it's the sewers now of the world. It's very, very, very sad. So you are going to have contaminants really regardless of whether they're wild caught or not, and in some cases wild caught fish even more so. It's a big topic to get into too much right now, but what I will say is that if you are going to eat fish, you want to eat fish that are as tiny as possible and not big predator fish like salmon and tuna and swordfish, because the bigger the fish, much like meat, all these contaminants in our environment make their way up the food chain, and they sequester and store in fatty tissue, lipophilic tissue of the animal. And so animals that have more flesh and fat are going to have more contaminants in them. And these predator fish, these bigger fish, have been swimming around for a long time. So they've had a long time for these contaminants to accumulate in this tissue. And then you eat the tissue and then you get the contaminants. So if you were going to eat any fish at all, I would say go for tiny little fish like an anchovy or a herring or something, little tiny fish if you were going to eat fish at all. Hope that answers that question. So raw food. Now, the science with raw food is this. I'll make this really simple for you. Is, the upside of raw food is that raw food contains a lot of enzymes in it that can be destroyed in cooking. But there's a huge problem with this when we look at the science, is that some fruits and vegetables, their compounds, their disease-fighting compounds, are actually enhanced and made more bioavailable by cooking. So there are many foods, actually, fruits and vegetables. A very glaring example, green beans, better cooked than eaten raw. Potatoes, you don't really want to eat raw potatoes. So that would be the biggest piece of science that I would bring to this debate, if there were a debate of should I be eating all raw food. Again, as a board certified nutritionist, what I teach to my clients is you want a bit of both. You want to have raw food and raw fruits and veggies and cooked. And really, I also believe in the healthiest way to eat is to eat with the seasons and to eat as locally as possible, local and seasonal, and preferably organic. But if you're eating seasonally, then in the winter, you're going to be eating probably more cooked foods, because you're going to be eating more root vegetables such as your parsnips and your beets and your potatoes and your rutabagas and turnips, etc. And most of the time you're going to cook those foods. And they're going to be more digestible cooked and satiating as well. And so to the raw food diet trend of 2021, I would go for it. Have loads of beautiful raw fruits and veggies in your diet, all those beautiful enzymes flooding your body, helping your digestion. You're getting all of that fiber. You're getting all of those beautiful, non-starchy vegetables as well, lots of them, great as part of a weight loss diet. However, I think most people do better with cooked foods as well. And this is particularly true as we get older, when our digestive enzymes diminish. Okay? All right, next. A hot diet trend for 2021 would be probiotic-rich foods. It's like the probiotic-rich diet or the gut-healthy diet. So there's a lot of trend been going on and on about, which is, Erin, right, is, the gut-healthy diet or probiotic diet. And yes, absolutely, hugely, hugely important. I'm all for that. It's the foundation of our health. Honestly, if your gut isn't balanced, the microbiota, your microbes in your gut and your digestive system aren't balanced with enough good bacteria. You need to have a balance between the good and the bad good bacteria. It is the absolute foundation of your health. But interestingly, it's also the foundation of weight loss, because you make it very hard for yourself on your weight loss journey if you have gut dysbiosis. If you do not have a healthy gut, it's going to be very hard for you to sustain the healthy weight loss over time. So to that end, gut health is very important. So probiotic rich diet makes us think, oh my gosh, I've got to eat all these probiotics and fermented veggies and kombucha, and I've got to stuff myself with all these probiotic foods. And you've got to be careful, because it can be a bit of a marketing ploy, right? Like any of these things. It's just like if they can slap a whatever label, it's like a vegan or a keto or a probiotic or whatever. Read beyond the label, my friends. With any of these diets, read the small print. Nobody says on the keto diet that this might put you at very high risk for heart disease, right? Didn't read that small print. Vegan, is it healthy? This diet could be full of processed foods, and spike up your blood sugar. Didn't read that small print. Always read the small print. Raw food, you may be better off. The small print is, there's some foods are better. You're going to get more nutrients from them when they are cooked. Same with probiotic. It's like the small print is probiotics in of themselves are not going to cure poor gut health. How you are going to increase beautiful gut health and get your gut health in really good shape is by eating a diet that's very rich in fiber. And that would be whole foods, whole plant foods. That is your absolute first stop when it comes to creating gut health. I recommend reading the book by Dr. B, who's I've done a live stream with before. I must have him on again because he's absolutely brilliant, but it's called Fiber Fueled. He is a gastroenterologist. He is an expert in gut health. He has dealt with endless people's digestive issues for many, many years. And it's all about, getting all these different a variety of plant sources into your diet to really get your gut in very, very, very good health. And it's imperative for helping weight loss over time. So when you see a probiotic diet or probiotic rich diet, don't be kind of fooled by thinking if I just down probiotics or if I eat enough fermented foods or kombucha, it's going to be the diet that I need that's going to be for health and weight loss, because it's not. Just go back to the basics. You don't need to fill your diet with all these foods. You just need to eat right. All right, so next diet trend. Again, we have 3 more. This is one, again, that's been going for a while, and it's intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting, big, huge diet trend. Is it going to explode? Yes, it continues to be. And intermittent fasting, I would say, or let's stick with the science, can be a very good thing. It can be very helpful in some cases for lowering blood sugar. There is a little evidence to show it helping with weight loss over time, but very conclusively in helping with your blood sugar levels, to lower your blood sugar levels. Now, there's lots of different kinds of intermittent fasting, but here's the really important thing. Like many of these approaches, intermittent fasting alone is not, in my experience and what the science now tells us, is not going to move the needle for you. It's just not that alone. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to do intermittent fasting. I'm joining all these intermittent fasting groups, and that's going to just do it for me. But as I said to you before, my approach is I treat the whole person, and we do everything. Again, please look at my masterclass. Catherine, if you're still on, if you wouldn't mind just putting it in there. If you haven't already, please watch my masterclass, because I sort of really do explain how it's this holistic approach. But certainly, when I work with my clients, intermittent fasting is part of what we do. But again, if you're intermittent fasting and then in your eating window, which some intermittent fasting says you can do, you can eat anything. Not really the case. I don't see the long-term weight loss with this, that you can intermittent fast and then eat whatever you want. It's really not going to work long-term, and you're not going to see the results that you would like to see. You're just not. As a tool, as part of your overall strategy, your lifestyle change and the way that you decide to live your life, which is in harmony with the natural workings of your body, then intermittent fasting can be a useful tool. So again, like these hottest diet trends, I think almost all of them, it's like there's a kernel of help, I should say, or veracity in most of them, barring keto, I would say. Although even keto, if you're doing the keto diet, even keto is going to go, look, don't eat Twinkie bars and get all the processed foods and sugars out of your diet, which is a really, really good thing. But, that alone, is not going to, lead to probably the weight loss that many of you would want to see or sustained over time and health. So that's intermittent fasting. Right, 2 more to go. Intuitive eating is one that I'm hearing a lot about. And I think intuitive eating is another one that's going to explode into 2021. Now, intuitive eating, much like intermittent fasting, is a tool. It's like intuitive it's kind of like mindful. You go with your intuition. You go with what your body sort of feels like. Okay? However, what I've seen with if you were to just do intuitive eating, what if you just feel like a donut? What if you just feel like a big hunk of cheese? What if you just feel like... Now, let's just be honest about this, okay? And this is where it comes a little unstuck with me, the intuitive eating. I wish intuitive eating would work. I wish that my brain was wired to intuitively only want to eat the foods that are healthy for me. But my brain isn't wired that way. My brain is wired, as is everybody's, is to eat foods that are very high in fat, high in sugar, and also high in salt. It's evolutionary psychology. It's how we were wired. We were to eat a lot of calories, conserve energy, and eat these foods. So I just don't think that most of us, some people can, some people, a very small percentage of people can intuitively and mindfully eat and do okay on that. But the majority of people women who I have worked with over the years, that comes unstuck after a while. However, it's a tool, and it's a very powerful tool in my approach, in the way that I teach and coach weight loss and feeling amazing. It's a very, very powerful tool, mindfulness. But I think that alone isn't going to swing it. I think you need to you definitely need to have all the different approaches as well. And you need, if you learn to eat intuitively, but you're eating specific foods and the right and the really healthy foods, and ultimately the foods that your body really loves, then that's when we're talking. Okay, and then finally, the final hot diet trend would be, yeah, exactly, Ernest, yeah, potato chips. I'll intuitively eat an entire bag of potato chips. That'll be me. I'm a salty, fatty person rather than sweet, and so I could totally intuitively do a family-sized bag of potato chips. No problem. All right, so the final diet trend is the apps, the accountability apps, like Noom. Some of you may have heard of Noom before, and I think we're going to see a lot more of these apps. They're very... what was I going to say? They're very seductive in a way, because the idea that you can just download an app on your phone and that you can be held accountable, and that it's going to teach, that you can, the foods don't really matter. Foods aren't really necessarily good or bad, but you've just got to have, have everything in moderation. Right, which is generally how a lot of these accountability apps are. It doesn't really matter. Don't sweat too much about the food that you eat, but it's about moderation and checking in. So with this, I would say that, again, there's good in it. There's a very positive tool. There's one tool in there. But again, it's not giving you the full picture. It's not giving you the full story, because in the sense of the foods don't really matter, everything in moderation is really something that I believe for 98% of people really doesn't work when it comes to long-term weight loss and optimal health. Most people can't do moderation. Oh, I can have, a little bit of this and a little bit of that, because the foods around us are very, very addictive. 90% of foods that we find in restaurants, in drive-thrus, in grocery stores are very, very addictive. They're very high in fat and sugar and salt and goodness knows what else. So to expect you, even with an app telling you to be accountable all the time, to expect you to be accountable and to be able to exercise moderation over time, I think is a really tall order. And what I have seen with those apps, and I don't know if you've tried any, is there's a kind of rosy honeymoon period of like, oh my gosh, I'm doing it and it's keeping me accountable and everything. But then it's really just a matter of time. It just trails off and it becomes another app on your phone, or another one of these sort of accountability situations. So really, again, but the accountability piece is important, but it's one tool. So again, my approach is really that you need a little bit of all of these. So it's actually interesting now, and I'm thinking about it, having gone over the hot diet trends for 2021, which would be keto, vegan, flexitarian, raw food, probiotic rich, intermittent fasting, intuitive eating, and accountability apps like Noom. There's a little tool, there's a nugget in most of those. There's maybe a little tool to pay attention to that could be useful and could work for you in all of those. But is it the whole story that's really going to sway it for you? If not everybody does, not everybody wants to lose weight or needs to lose weight, but if you are somebody who is approaching a diet, wants to do a diet because you do want to lose those last 10 stubborn pounds, or the first 100 pounds. If that's you, then it's going to be, in my experience, a more comprehensive approach where the whole of you is taken into account, and it's both mindset, it's accountability, it's mindset, it's exactly what you eat. We can't just pretend that we can have these foods and it's all going to be all right, or everything in moderation. It just doesn't work that way. As I said, for a very small percentage of people, and if that's you, if you're that 5% who can just do that, and you're just healthy and harmonious and in tune with yourself and never crave foods that could pack on the pounds or unhealthy, then you're very, very lucky and good for you. Most people just aren't like that. And I think living in this modern day society that we're living in now makes it very, very difficult for us. So it's not your fault. If you're the other 95%, it's not your fault. It really isn't. It's just the way that your brain is wired. So that's it. So those are the trends that we're going to see more. There are subdivisions of those trends, and I'll cover those as they crop up over time. Over 2021, we're going to see other little trends cropping up, or little sort of sub-trends of those ones that I've gone over. But those are the main ones. So where are you on that? Which one are you interested in? Have you tried any of these long term, not just for a few weeks, but like for 3 months, 6 months, a year? How has it worked for you? How are you feeling? And really the biggest piece is, and I'll finish with this, is, again, with any dietary approach, right? It is health. It is stacking the cards in your favor as far as your health and disease prevention is concerned. And I think with the pandemic going on, global pandemic going on, there has never been a better time and a more, if you like, more pressing time for us to go, look, this is, I've got to really take care of this now. I can't mess around with this anymore. If I have high blood pressure, if I'm, obese, these are states, these are you don't want to be in that bracket when it comes to, COVID-19. You want to reduce your risk of complications. And the way that we do that is by now, in every sense of the word. What you eat is a huge part of it. Food is our medicine, flooding our body multiple times a day with all the antioxidants and immune boosting foods is so important. But also, so is stress management, so is exercise, and everything else that we need to focus on. So, even if you're not interested in a diet trend and you were just watching this because hey, just checking out what the diet trends are, I know you're interested in health. I know you want to keep yourself healthy, your loved ones, your children, your parents, everybody around you. And so I think that, during this pandemic, we are really now shedding the spotlight in no uncertain terms. It's okay, what can I do really to take care of this now and really to step up that for my family and my friends. So check out my masterclass. Again, if that's you, if you're you're a bit of a head scratching space, you're I hear all this and I'm still confused, I don't know what's best for me, or you're really, really struggling on your weight loss journey, as many beautiful clients that I have worked with have been, and we've managed to get them over the hump and over to the other side. If that's you, do watch my masterclass, because that'll sort of tell you my philosophy, and I dig in a little bit deeper to all of this. And you can even see, if you watch that, how you might even, decide to jump on a breakthrough call with me to discuss further. But do watch that first, because it's important that you even, would get to know my philosophy. That's important. Have a beautiful rest of your week. Take care of yourself. I know we're in holiday season, everything's, the stress and everything. So manage your stress levels, do your breathing, do your meditation, keep yourself well. I love you all in my communities, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.